Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com, and we are here today with lesson number 68 in our legendary, our epic new series of Arduino tutorials. I will need you today to pour yourself a nice huge mug of iced coffee. You will need it because today it's time to check your homework. In lesson number 67, we left you with a homework assignment. And that homework assignment was to create a remote controlled RGB LED where you would be able to control the on and offness of the LED, the color, and the brightness. Okay, I need you guys to pause and go down and leave me a comment. Did anybody even try to do this by themselves? Or did you just sit back and eat some potato chips and wait for the new lesson to come out when you could just copy me do it? You guys are never going to learn how to do this until you do things on your own. Because when you do things on your own, things get very, very painful. And you've got to dig and you've got to struggle and you've got to try and you've got to figure it out. And then all of a sudden you figure it out. And then life is wonderful. The sky is a little bit bluer. You hear the birds outside chirping. Life is wonderful when you figure things out. Did anybody try to do this homework? And of the people that tried it, did anybody get it all working the way I said to get working? If you got it working, write me a comment down below. I am legend. Okay, because this assignment really seemed pretty easy, but as you did it, it probably turned out to be a lot harder than what you thought. And so let's go back and review what the assignment was. The assignment was to control an RGB LED with your remote, which you can get in your fabulous eLego kit, which is available in a link down below. It does help if we are in the description. It does help if we are using identical hardware. And what the assignment was to control the RGB LED in the kit using the remote and the remote receiver module that are in the kit. And like we say, I've kind of moved from the Arduino Uno that came with the eLego kit, and I've moved to an Arduino Nano with the links available down below. Really suggest you guys get you a Nano because it's just so much easier to make a nice neat build when you have a Nano. Okay, so what was the assignment? The assignment was to control the RGB LED from the remote. If you press the on button, you were supposed to come up in white, okay, in white light, full brightness. If you press the function stop button, it was to turn off. Then 0 was to be for white, 1 for red, 2 for green, 3 for blue, 4 for cyan, 5 for magenta, and 6 for yellow. Okay, so depending on what button you press, you get different colors. Now, this was where I threw you a little bit of a curveball, and it would require you to actually go in and think through this and come up with an algorithm that would always work. And what the assignment was for the down key to turn the brightness down. So every time you hit the key, dim, 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 and then every time you hit the up key, brighter, 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 up to the maximum brightness. And the kind of curveball I threw you, like if I turn on red, it comes on, let's say I turn power on, it's full brightness. I then go to red, it's full brightness. If I go dim, 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 4 dims, and then if I go from red to green, the green should come in at the dimness, the 4 dims that I set on red, so that the dimness should go from channel to channel to channel as you're changing color. Was anybody able to figure that out? Might have run into a few more problems along the way. Did you figure those out? If you got everything working, like I said, type in I am legend. If you didn't, type in what the problem that you had before we go through this. Because if anything, I want you to start seeing how I think, and I want you to start seeing how to debug things. So, my videos are longer, but that's because as I'm going through them, I'm talking out loud, and you can sort of start seeing how to think like an engineer. Okay, so let's just jump right into this. I think where you will want to start you will want to start by going to the fabulous www.toptechboy.com. Hopefully I can find this. Yeah, here we go. Let's see. Give me just a second here. I've got to get hooked up. I need you to go to toptechboy.com, and I need you to go to lesson number 65, which I am in the process of doing here. Okay, I need to go to post, and I'll show you this in just a second. Okay, so let me show you my screen top here. Hopefully I will show you my screen. That is not the right one. I think it is this one, and I apologize. I am going to have to correct this. It's not finding the screen, so I've got to go in and tell it the screen. I am so sorry. Okay, screen capture. Sometimes my production software gets a little confused. That is not good. We will get this. Boom. Okay. It sometimes loses which screen is which, and so just be patient with me. I am a one-man show here. Okay. Go to Arduino Tutorial 65 on www.toptechboy.com. We show you how to hook this thing up, and then I've got the code from where we're starting. So I'm going to get this, and I'm going to copy it, and then we will come over to, now I can really go to where I wanted to go to earlier. And I have lost everything. Okay, here we go. I promise this time. I promise it's going to work. Okay, I think we are where we need to be now. So we are going to come to this, and we are going to paste that code. And let me make sure that I got it. I do need my keyboard back here. Control C. Now come over here. Control A selects everything. Control V. Okay, so now you should be up to where I am with the code. And now let's look over here and see what you're going to need for the build. I feel like I've gotten off to a little slow start on this video, but we are going to work on through. Okay, you're going to need your RGB LED. You're going to need your from your eLEGO kit, your infrared receiver module. You're going to need your remote control. 3 current limiting resistors, 220 or 330 ohm works well. You can use your Arduino Uno. I prefer using the Nano. If you haven't gotten a Nano yet, look in the description down below. There's a link. Allows a lot neater builds, okay? And then you need some of these jumper wires. So let's look here and see how we have this hooked up. Again, this is explained in lesson number 65. I have from the Arduino, I will show you here, I have from the 5-volt pin come up, and I establish this top row as 5 volts, and then coming down I jumper that 5 volts down to this second from the bottom row, so that's also going to give me 5 volts. On the IR receiver module, the left pin, which is labeled G, the left pin, which is labeled G, focus, you aggravating thing. Okay, left pin G goes to ground. The middle pin R goes to the power rail, the 5 volts, and the right pin W goes to pin 9 on the Arduino, and that is where we left you at the last video. So let's come back and download that and just make sure things are still working. Because guys, you know, before you do a complicated build, just make sure we're like where we were before. We had this working before. Let's make sure it works. So as I press these buttons, I should see commands come up here. So if I press PWR, Okay. I see PWR pop up, so that's good. If I press 0, I see 0, so the remote is working. That's very, very good. The remote is working, so we are indeed where we left off in lesson number 65. Now I'm going to give you a nice overhead view, and you can kind of go through this build with me. I think this would be the suitable view, and I will do my best to keep things in your field of view. So first thing we got to figure out what we're going to do with the RGB LED. Understand that there are different RGB LEDs out there, and I'm giving you the one that comes with the eLego kit. Now, if you notice on the eLego kit, there is one leg that is longer than the other ones. In this orientation, it is the second from my left. It is this pin here is the long one. And so if you look over here at this picture that I've drawn you, that long leg is ground. When I have it oriented like this, the pin to the left of it is the red pin, and then you go red, ground, green, blue. Okay, now since I'm going to want to control brightness, am I going to want to use digital pins or PWM pins, those pins that I can do the analog write to? I want to use the squiggly pins because I might want to adjust brightness. You know that was part of the assignment. So step 1, you better have selected squiggly pins. So I'm going to, 9 is already used. Man, wouldn't it have been nice to use 9, 10, 11? But 9 is already used for the remote, and I don't want to redo that code. So I'm going to leave 9 on the remote, and I'm going to go 6 for red, then ground, then 10, then 11. All right, so now, you know, if you've been watching me do these builds, I do not like to bend wires, and so I like to keep my wires nice and straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug these wires in over here on those digital pins, and then I am going to put the LED where these wires would want them to be based on how long they are. You can also get rolls of this wire and bend it yourself, and that way you can make each wire the exact length. But I don't have such a setup right now. I'm just using these pre-made ones, which are quite convenient. So let's get this and kind of look at everything. So I want to start at pin 6. And so I will come over here on the Arduino. And man, guys, check this very, very carefully. Like right there, that is not pin 6, that's pin 3. I already made a mistake. So I'll pull that out. And then I will come over here to pin 6. Okay, then over here, it seems like pin 6 wants to just kind of naturally plug right in there. So I'll do it like that. And that's pretty straight. That's not perfect, but it's pretty straight. Okay, then the green was going to be pin 10. So I will jump over, man, yeah, 6, and then I will come over here to 10. I'm going to kind of plug it in up high, and then it wants to go right there. And now I am left with pin 11 for blue. And so I come into pin 11, and it wants to go right there. Okay. You see how I have that hooked up? All right, so never fear, you're not going to have to bend these LED pins, and I don't like to bend the pins on the LED. What I've just got to make sure is I've got to make sure that I've got this in the same orientation as this picture. I don't want it like that. That's not what I have in the picture. It's like this, where the long leg is towards the left. And now I'm just going to come and I'm going to plug it in the general vicinity, of these wires that I brought over, but I'm going to put it in the top half of the board because, right, those connections are broken through the trench. And so I'm going to put it in the top half of the board. And now, rather than running wires from here to here, I'm just going to jumper across my current limiting resistor. So I'm going to come to my red pin, which is the left pin, and then what did I want that to go to? I wanted that to go to the wire connected to pin 6. Okay, and so that is, and I missed it on the top there. All right, so let's check it. Okay, do you see that it's in there in a common column with my red pin on the LED coming down to the wire that goes to pin 6? Then similarly, I am going to come the green pin to the wire that goes to pin 10. And just as a good practice, I don't like to build with that plugged in, so I'm going to unplug that and try to keep these as straight as I can and as lined up as I can. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now my blue pin is going to go from the blue pin on the LED down to that wire that goes to pin 11. Okay, so this resistor goes to the blue pin on the LED, the blue pin, the rightmost pin, and then it comes down to the wire that goes over and connects to pin 11 on the Arduino. So we should be hooked up. Somebody tell me what we forgot. Someone tell me what we still have to do. We still need to ground this. Okay, that second pin, that long pin, we need to ground. Now I could run a wire from here all the way down to my ground rail, but that's going to be going through the resistors and over this wire, so I don't want to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this second to the top row also a ground by jumping it to the G and D wire on the nano. So I will come from G and D pin on the nano over like that, and now that has been established as a ground rail. Now I can come in and that ground pin on the LED I can ground to that ground rail. And don't force it, just kind of jiggle it till it goes in very nicely. Okay, do you see that? All right, that is looking pretty good. I believe I have everything hooked up now, so ooh, look at that, our little module fell out. So I'm going to very carefully put that back in as such. Okay, that looks good. Now what we're going to do is we are going to come and we are going to put the power back on. All right, now let's go back to our view here. Hopefully those windows are still going to be alive. Okay, that one's alive. And let's see if that one's alive. Yep, that one's still alive. So sometimes the production software loses these windows and I have to go put them back on. Okay, and I believe we verified earlier that our software was working. If I hit up, please work. Is it working? Okay. Did I download this? All right. Let's make sure. I'm going to download this lesson 65. It's not happy. Okay, it's downloading that. I'll come over here. Let's just make sure we were where we were before I hit PWR. Oh, it's still downloading. I'm sorry. Downloading lesson 65. And then you're watching this little thing here to see if it gets the PWR. We did get a happy little blink. We get a PWR. Let's try the function button. I hit FUN, happy little green light, fun. Okay, so we verified after adding the LED and after doing everything else, the remote is working per the lesson that we did in lesson number 65. And so now we are ready to start working with the LED. And so I need to get my keyboard in here. And okay, so first thing I want to do is I just want to kind of see if that LED is going to work, if I have it hooked up right. And so we're going to have to add some things to talk to that. And so we have 3 pins, right? So I have the int, and what do I have? I have the R pin. And where did I say the R pin was? It was pin 6. try to get it where you can see all of this. Okay, and let me see if I can make sure. Let me take a second and get it where you can see it well. Okay, get some focus going here. Okay, so what we want is red pin is pin 6. And so I can go back to the code view. And so I have integer red pin, R pin is 6. And then if we look over there, next up we had G pin, green pin, is equal to 10. And then we have int B pin is equal to 11. All right. Now, if we set those things up, we're also going to need brightness values. So I'm going to say R bright int. Since we're going to be doing dimming, we ought to think right off the bat, since we're going to be doing dimming, we better have variables for the analog rights. So we're going to have R bright, and we'll just start things off at 255, and then int G for green bright is equal to 255, and then int B bright equal to 55. All right. Now also, I'll just leave it at that for right now. Okay, now down in our void setup, what we want to do is we want to do our pin mode. So pin mode R bright is an output. Pin mode G bright is a what? It's an output. Pin mode B bright is an output. Okay, before we do anything else, I just want to see if I can turn this LED on. Is the LED good, right? Is things set up? Just see if we can turn it on. I like to check things before I get too far into this, so I can do a digital write R. Oh man, did you catch this? This is R pin, G pin, B pin, like that is outputs. Now digital write R pin, what do I want to write? I'm just going to turn it on, 255. Okay, digital write G pin 255. It's easier than writing the variables, and I'm going to take this out after I see that it works. Digital write B pin 255. Okay, when I do this, the LED should turn, nominally it should turn white. Okay, let's see if we can download this. It should turn on kind of white even before I do anything at all. It's downloading. Okay, so the LED turns on and it looks nominally white. I like to use these little ping pong balls that I drill a nice little hole in, and then I like to put them over there as kind of like a little lamp. I think it makes it look nice. I do note that when I turn all three on full brightness, this has a little bit of a blue tint to it, so I'll probably later on want to turn my blue down a little bit, but we can fine-tune the colors later. What is good is that this thing is actually turning on. So I got the LED hooked up right, I got the remote hooked up right, so now we are ready to start doing some coding. Let's take care of the on-off first. But man, guys, we got to think through this. There's going to be a lot of if statements based on what button is pushed. And your temptation is going to be in each if statement to put, like, set the brightness levels in the if statement and then turn the values on, analog write in the if statements. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to use the if statements to set up the parameters. So like if 1 is pressed, if the button 1 is pressed, I'm going to set up the parameters where I'm ready to turn the LED red. So that would be like R brightness equal 255, G brightness equals 0, B brightness equals 0. And then after I go through all of the if statements, then I'm going to do the analog write at the bottom after all the if statements. So the if statements are going to be setting my parameters up. And then at the end, I always just have one one set of analog writes outside of those if statements. And if you try to do all your bookkeeping inside the if statements, I think that would be a really hard way to do it. So you guys leave me a comment down below if you tried that and failed, or if you tried it and got it working. Okay, so now we're going to go through all of these if statements are just seeing which button has been pressed. And so what this code does is it starts up here, and the first thing it does is it just waits for a button press. So nothing's going to happen until a button is pressed. And then once the button is pressed, it reads the value, the little remote here, the remote module, infrared module reads the value from the remote and then converts it into kind of a meaningful command. And so that's what all this does. So we'll let it figure out what button has been pressed, and now we need to do our if statement. So what would we do? If, well, what happens if you press the power button? Let's see, because I wanted it to come all the way on, but I have to know what that command is. So I'm going to point it, press it, and then what I can see is that the string that comes from the power button is PWR. So if my command equal the string PWR, what do I want to do? Well, I want R bright to be equal to 255. I want G bright to be equal to 255, and I want B bright to be equal to 255. All right. Also, what you got to kind of think is we started talking about dimming, and we're going to have to deal with this dimming function later. And so I need some parameter like the dim factor, D fact, okay? And the dim factor, I could be at 100%, 90%, 80%. That sounds like not an int, but a float. And so I'm going to float D factor, like what factor do I want to dim by? And I'll just set it 1. So 1 would be full brightness. So mentally, 1 would be full brightness, 0.1 would be 10% bright, 0.9 would be 90% bright. Okay, so I'm going to float that. And what did I say that if I hit the power button, what brightness would I want? I would want full brightness. So I'm going to just put in here dfact is equal to 1. Now you might be thinking that, well, why do you need that? Because you already did this, but just go with me here. If you can do it without using all these variables, show me that it really works. But I think this is a good way to do it. So that is that. Now I'm going to come up and I'm going to copy that. And then what else do we want to do? Let's go ahead and turn it off. Let's figure out how to turn it off. So that was supposed to be the little function stop button in the upper right. So if I click that, I can see that the command that sends is FUN. So then here what I am going to say is if my com equal what? FUN, the string FUN. And if it's equal to fun, then what do I want to do? Well, I want R bright to be equal to 0. I want G bright equal to 0. I want B bright equal to 0. And then just for fun, the D factor is going to be equal to 0. Now, you might argue this is redundant, and it might be, but I'm just trying to keep track of the brightness values and then also keep track of this dim value. And so maybe later on you'll see when I'm doing this. Maybe you've got a better way to do it, but this is just the way that I'm doing it. Now I think that this should be able to turn on and off. I need everyone to hold their breath. Oh, denied, denied. Oh my goodness, dfact. Somebody did not hold their breath, and that was the problem, and dfact didn't have a semicolon. This time, everyone hold your breath. Yes, yes, yes. Boom, it downloaded. Okay. And why did it come on? Because we forgot to take this nonsense out here when we were testing the LED that turned it on. And so remember these digital writes we did, we forgot to take those out. So I need to take those out. And also, I forgot down here, I set things up, but I never did the analog write. So I need to go ahead and do that after the if statements. Now, those parameters that were set up, I'm going to write them in. So I'm going to say analog write, and then R pin. I'm going to put R. I'm going to put in it R write, and then analog write G pin G bright, and then I'm going to write to what B pin, the blue pin, and what B brightness. So this should be a simple on-off function at this point. So let's download that. I'm not going to hold my breath. I have absolute confidence that this is going to work. Absolute confidence. You can't see my little green bar, so I'll skip out of the way. You see, look at me. I'm as cool as a cucumber. This will work. Okay, it downloaded. Now, let's see when I press the power button. In the serial monitor, you should see PWR, and then you should see this turn on. Okay. Boom! I just turned the light on by remote control. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's a tad bit bright in here. I think I'll turn it off with the fun button. Huh? Look at that. Who's turning lights on and off? Giddy up. Giddy up. We got this thing going. Okay, so that part, well, it's kind of simple. You know, we built into this an ability to start adding features. So now, what would be the next thing that we would want to do? I think we want to do our colors. We'll worry about brightness later, but 0 is going to be white, and then 1 red, 2 green, 3 blue, 4 cyan, 5 magenta, and 6 yellow. And so we're going to need a lot of if statements. And so let's do the first one, and then I'm just going to start by copying and pasting this because I think a lot of these things will be the same. So in just the color setting, I don't want to mess with, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to do the first color, which is going to be 0, which is white. So I'm going to press the 0 button and see what I get up here. I get 0 as the command. So if my COM is 0, okay, what do I want? I want white. Well, what would white be? R bright is 255. Okay, G bright is 255, and B bright is 255. Okay, now defact. Okay, defact. When I hit power, or when I hit off, I want it to go to a brightness of 0. And when I had power, I wanted it to go to a brightness full bright, which is 1. But here at 0, I don't want to change the brightness. I want to stay whatever brightness I was. So I don't want to monkey with that. So do you understand the difference between the 0 and the power? Power comes on white, full bright. But 1 keeps your present brightness. So if I was at red and went dim, 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 and then went to 0, I want a dim, 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 dim white. Okay, you see I've got to pass that dimness factor between the different colors when I use the numbers. So that means I don't want to change the defact value when I do the numbers. All right, so now I think that I can take this, and all these are going to be very similar, so I'm going to put Control V, and then I'm going to say, what is the next one? The color red for 1. I press 1 just to see, and the command is, did it see it? I thought I saw a happy little light. Okay, 1. All right, so now on this one, if my COM is 1, what color did we want? Red. That would be R bright 255, green bright 0, blue bright 0. So that should give me red. This should go pretty quickly. So control copy again. We're not going to fiddle with the dim here. Control V. Now what is the next one? The next one is green. I'm going to press the 2 button and the command is 2. And we set these up so you could say, well, you set these up, you should already know them. Yeah, but what if I had some goofy capitalization? So for this case, red would be 0 and G would be 255. So red, green, blue. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Number 3 will be blue, so I'm going to press the number 3 button. The command is 3. So I will come over here and we'll control V, paste again. And now 1, 2, I will make this 3. And now that's 255, 0. I'm sorry. For blue, you want to turn red off. You want to turn green off. And blue would be 255. Okay, we have red, green, blue. We are going through this quickly. Next, we want cyan. Control V. And that would be button 4. What is the button 4 command? I'm going to press it just to be sure. And the command is FOUR. So if my command is FOUR, then what do I want? I want cyan. Cyan is kind of no red, and it's kind of mixing green, and it's mixing blue. Okay. And now we want cyan. Magenta 5 is magenta, so let's press 5 and see what we get. Press the 5 button and we get FIVE. So now I will control V again, and if my com equals FIVE, then cyan magenta. Magenta is, sometimes I have trouble remembering these. Magenta is red and blue. Okay, red and blue is going to make magenta. And now cyan, magenta, the last one is yellow. So yellow was the 6th key, so I will press the 6th key. What did it see? It saw absolutely nothing. I thought I saw that happy little light there, but I guess I didn't. Okay, 6. And you guys have kind of lost your focus here. I'm sorry. Okay, that looks like good focus. Okay, so you've got 6. So if my command is equal to 6, then yellow would be red and green makes yellow. Blue has nothing to do in here. All right, then we're going to write those 3 values. Okay, this time I will need you to hold your breath. I better have some coffee. Okay, everyone holding their breath all together now. Oh. Yes, download, download. Hold your breath. Yes, okay. Boom, it downloaded. But now the question is it going to work? Well, let's start by trying to turn it on. Okay, I hit PWR. Boom, it turned on. Let's try turning it off. Boom, it turned off. You following the fun up here? Okay, now let's go 1. It should be red. Giddy up! It turned red. Okay, 2 should be green. Lovely, lovely. Changed my mind. I'm feeling like blue. Boom! Do you see that blue? Look at that. We're controlling color from our little remote. Those are the primary colors RGB, but there's also the primary colors cyan, magenta, and yellow. Let's see if we can have a little cyan by pressing 4. Lovely. Is that not a lovely cyan? Let's try magenta, number 5. Boom! We have magenta. We have magenta. Cyan, magenta. I think in that magenta, I would like to tone blue down just a little bit. I think the blue is too strong. And so we can tweak those numbers a little bit later. Okay, and then let's go to number 6. Okay, and that is a lovely yellow. Look at that. Now I'm going to go back to 2. Red, green. Look at that. This is working great. Okay, now what is the one problem that I had? I feel like as I'm mixing these colors that blue is too strong. So if I go to 5 and I kind of look at magenta, that is too much blue in that magenta. So let's come down and let's tone down the blue in the magenta. And we can do that coming over here. If I can get this to work. Okay, so what was magenta? That was button 5, so I'll come down to 5. Instead of Be Bright of 255, I'm going to make it like 200. Okay, and so now let's see if that gets a little bit better value, a little bit better tone. Okay, and let me come over where you can see it completely. All right, and you have lost your focus again, so let me see if I can give you a focus. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's see what just happened. All right, so I'm going to turn it off with a 0. I'm not sure what happened while we were fooling around there. Okay, it's off, and now I'm going to turn it on with power. You see the happy little light, and now I'm going to turn it to 5. Okay. Now, I turned it down to 200, and now it went all the way to red. Maybe I turned it down too much. Let's try making it 240. Okay. It's downloading, downloading, downloading. Let me get out of your way. Okay, so now if I click 5, look at that. It's turning just red. There's no difference between that and red. What if I go all the way to 254? That certainly should work, right? Okay, so let me go to 5. Houston, we have a problem. It is like this pen is not acting like an analog pen. It's acting like a digital pen. If I don't go 255, it turns off that channel. Let me go back to 255, and we're going to see blue come back like full strength. So I can make blue full strength, or I can make it off, but it's not working for those in-between values. Okay, it's not working for those in-between values. Did anybody else out there have this problem? Did anybody else out there? Now you see it comes back blue full blast, and it's too much. So how do we debug this? How do we get to the bottom of it? Well, the first thing is what we see is that this blue pin, which if I look over here, this blue pin is pin 11. Pin 11 is not acting like a PWM pin. It's not acting like an analog out pin. So first of all, did we make a mistake, and did we hook up to something that didn't have a squiggly? Well, the nano doesn't list the squiggly, so let's come over here on the Elegu Uno R3, and we hope that it will focus. We hope that it will focus. We'll give it some help here. Okay, there. Oh, beautiful focus. Do you see pin 11? Definitely has a squiggle by it. So it's supposed to act like a PWM, but it is not acting like a PWM. All right, what can I do? I think what I'm going to do is come over to the oscilloscope, and what I'll do is I'll just modify this code where on the on function. Now what we're doing is we're debugging. I want to see, I think you kind of know that it's acting like a digital pin and not an analog pin, but let's just confirm that. So I'm going to come in and on power, I'm just going to set them all on half power, like 150, I guess 125 would be better. 125, 125, 125. And then I'm going to download this, and then we're going to take a look at the scope and see, it seems like pin 11 is not acting like PWM. So let's download this and we will go over to the scope. Okay, hope I don't make you dizzy, but we are just going to move the camera and we're going to point over here at the scope. And now what I'm going to do is I am setting, I wonder if I have a view where you could see this, both of these. I think this view is about as good as you're going to get, so I'll just switch over here so you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm connecting the ground of the oscilloscope to the ground of my circuit. Maybe I'll hold it up here where you can see it. And now I'm going to check the red pin. I'm going to check the red pin by putting this, oh man, you guys really have to see this, okay? I mean, you need to see what I'm doing. I wish I had an extra camera. Okay, so I've got the oscilloscope grounded to ground, and now that first pin is pin 6, and so I'm going to plug the oscilloscope into pin 6, I believe. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the power button, PWR, all right. Oh, please, PWR. Okay, so I turned PWR on, the thing came on, but I am certainly not seeing any blue in that. So let's come over and look at the oscilloscope. And I've got the oscilloscope hooked up to what? The red pin. And the red pin is acting like PWM. It's on half the time, it's off half the time. So, and the red functions seem to be working. Now I'm going to go to G, which is pin 10. And when I plug into pin 10, it likewise is acting like PWM. So pin 10 is working and pin 6 is working. All right. But what happens if I go to pin 11? I plug pin 11 in and it's all the way off. So I'm getting nothing out of it, even though I'm telling it to write at 125. Okay, does that make sense what I'm saying? You see, I've got that command be bright is 125, but I'm getting nothing out of the oscilloscope, but I am getting something out here on the green pin, and I'm getting something out on the red pin. So if you don't have an oscilloscope, you don't really need one, because you saw just by playing around with the LED, you saw that pin 11 is not giving me a PWM signal. So since I connected it directly to the pin, what could be going on here? Well, the pin could be burned out. Maybe one thing you could do is you could go in and put in another Arduino, but usually the Arduino is not at fault. Usually there's something else going on. Okay, what's one thing that we have going on over here in the software? Oh, we've got this IR remote thing going on. We've got this IR remote thing going on. And that IR remote operates with an interrupt, and so it's always going and interrupting the program. And so even though we just say load IR remote and start sending it commands, what if IR remote is messing with our PWMs? So in a case like this, who is our friend? Google is our friend. So we are going to come over here and we are going to go to a Google window, and I am going to type in IR remote library affecting PWM. Doesn't that seem to be what's happening? Because before, when we operated the RGB LED, everything worked good. But now it's like that pin 11 is not responding. So Arduino Uno, problem with PWM function on RGB LED and infrared remote. Sounds like our problem. Let's go there and see what it says. I'm having an issue controlling an RGB LED with Arduino and a remote when including the library. Sounds like us. The blue channel only works in on-off instead of PWM. Sounds like us. Let's see what the solution is down here. Oh my. Some kind soul provided this solution. By default, oh man, I wish you guys could see that larger. Let me see if I can not give you such an eye test. Okay. Let's see what the solution was here. And let me go to a different view here that you can, not a good view. Okay, this will work. I'll get further out of your way. Okay, what is this solution on this forum say? But by default, I'm remote library, which we're using, uses timer 2 on the ATmega, that's the microprocessor. This timer is also used for PWM on pins 3 and 11. This means you will have to use different PWM pin for the LED. Alternatively, you could edit the IR remote library to use timer 1. Well, I don't want to edit the library. What this is saying is that when you load that library, it starts messing with pins 3 and 11, which means you shouldn't use pins 3 and 11. Did you guys have this problem? Or if you did you figure out the solution? Or did you just fold up like a cheap lawn chair, run from the room crying like a little child, go get on your Xbox or start doing Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, and just decide you're not going to be an engineer? No, you've got to dig into these things. How long did it take me to debug that? About 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so what it is saying is, it is saying that we cannot use pins 3 or pins 11. Okay, so what problem are we having? We're running out of pins. I can't use 11. I'm also already using 10. I'm using 9 for the infrared remote. I'm using 6, and I can't use 3. What does that leave? 1 PWM pin, which is pin 5. Okay, 1 PWM pin, which is pin 5. Now, since I don't have a perfectly sized wire, I'm going to take this one out, and I will get out of your way again. I'm going to take this one out that went to pin 11 because that's a no-no. And in this case, I am just going to use a jumper wire. So I'm going to go from the blue over to, we said pin 5 on the Arduino. So pin 5 on the Arduino over to the blue LED. All right. So now if we go back to code view, what does that mean that we're going to have to do over here on our code view? That blue pin is no longer 11. The blue pin is no longer 11. The blue pin is now 5. Okay. Now what we're also going to do is down here where we did that right with the power, and we wrote where was PWR here, right? This was the one we were monkeying with. Let's just see if we can get a half bright blue. So I'm going to go 0, 0, and then I'm just going to look at blue to see if this will come on halfway, which it wouldn't a while ago. So we're going to download. And remember that if statement was for the power, so I'm going to press PWR, and I should see half brightness blue with PWR. I hit PWR, I saw the happy little light. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Let me try it again. The happy little light. And PWR, boom, half bright blue. Okay, now let's do a really dim blue just to make sure. So let's say that blue bright is 10. And we should really see it go very dim this time when we download it. And then I'll have to press PWR again. Okay, so we hit this, and we see PWR. And did this even come on this time, Be Bright? Oh yeah, do you see that? We have fixed the blue color problem. All three are now getting PWM signals. So let's go back to where we were. This was 255, this was 255, and this was 255 for PWR. And now what we were trying to do is we didn't like our magenta. We didn't like our magenta because there was too much blue. And so let's go back and let's tone down that magenta. Magenta was pin 5, and so we need to look for the 5 in the if statement. Ooh, I got 2 of these things. That is not good. Why did I put that in there twice? Did you guys catch that? Ooh, okay. I had 2 PWR if statements somehow. All right. But now let's fix the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here we thought Be Bright was too bright. And so let's go to 200. And let's see if we'll get a better magenta. I'm going to download. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm confident that at least it's going to download. I'm not confident that I'll get the perfect magenta, but I am confident that it's going to download. Okay, it looks like it's downloaded. I will hit the power button, or I'm sorry, yeah, I'll hit the power button to turn it on, PWR, and then we see PWR, it comes on. And now what I'm going to do is click the number 5 button. Okay, it sees that, and then look at that. That is a much, much better magenta, but I still think that it is a little bright. I'm going to turn that on down to 150 because I still see too much blue. I want more of a magenta color, if that makes sense. Let's download it again. And you just got to kind of tune this till it looks right for you, and that would be a good homework, is to go in, look up technically what red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, and yellow look like, and then tune your program. So let's turn it on. There, PWR comes on, and now I will press button 5 for magenta. Oh, that is a lovely magenta there. That is really a lovely magenta. I'm not sure if you're seeing it perfectly because of the camera not being exactly what real life is, but that is a very, very nice magenta in my estimation. Okay, so now what do we have to do? We got to deal with this. We got to deal with this brightness thing. All right, now on brightness, what you have to understand is you might intuitively, your first thought might be the way to do this is if you hit one of the like dim keys, if you hit the dim key to like just subtract 15 from R bright, G bright, and B bright, just like subtract a number down from it, or if you hit up, add a number to it. But the problem is, it's kind of like the difference between an arithmetic progression and a geometric progression. Your eye does not perceive brightness linearly. So let me explain it this way. If you do an analog write of 254, and then you do an analog write of brightness of 255, your eye cannot perceive the difference between 254 and 255. But if you put in an analog write of 1 and then put in an analog write of 2, you can see a huge difference between 1 and 2, but not between 254 and 255. So you don't want to subtract numbers for dimming, because if you do, let's say you subtracted 10 from 255 to 245, you're not going to perceive a difference. But when you go from 20 to 10, there's going to be an enormous difference, and then from 10 to 0, you see you kind of jumped over it. So you don't want to scale it by subtraction, you want to scale it through multiplication. Okay, so first of all, let's figure out what this key is. So if I press the down key, the command is DN, so that dim key is going to be the command DN. And what we want to do is we don't want to mess with we don't want to mess with these brightness values. What is it that we want to mess with? This factor. 1 is 100%. That means, and let me make sure I did that right, that factor. 1 is 100%, okay? And that would be full brightness. Half brightness would be 0.5. 10% brightness would be 0.1. So this is going to be a fraction. We did it as a float, okay? And so you got to think of it that way. So we're going to come down here, and after we've dealt with the colors, we're going to say if my command equal, what was it? The string dn, when we press that button, then what do we want to do? Well, it would be dfact is equal to dfact times, let's say 0.75, all right? And we'll check it and see, can I perceive, like at 0.75, can I perceive that it is going down? All right, then what's the other one? If my command equal, and what is the command if I hit the little up button, which we said was going to be brighter? If I hit the little up, it is up. So if my command is equal to up, that means we need to boost that D factor. In that case, dfact is equal to dfact times, you might say 1.25, but because of kind of the round off error, I think you need to boost it a little bit. I'm going to say 1.3. All right. Now, the other thing you have to think is you can't write a value greater than 255. Now, if I'm multiplying by 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, the worst I'll do is get to 0, and 0 is okay. But if you're boosting it times 1.3 times 1.3, you've got to make sure that you don't go over 255, which means you've got to make sure that dfact, that multiplication factor, never goes beyond 1. So if dfact is greater than 1, what do you want to do? You want to pin it dfact equals 1. And this is just saying that you never let dfact go above 1, which means that your brightness values will never go above 255. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see if we can download this. All right. No. Now what we're going to say is now I've got this factor that I can scale the brightnesses down by, but I haven't done anything with it. Well, where would we do that? Right here. Times dfact. So if dfact is less than 1, it's going to pull down what you're writing. Times dfact. Times dfact. Okay, so now the scale factor I'm calculated, I'm now writing it in. And if I go red to green to blue, as I'm changing the colors, it's going to bring that scale factor, that dim factor along with it. Okay, let's download this. Oh, did you guys see that? What's the real problem? The real problem is we didn't hold our breath. Okay, everyone hold your breath. Download, hold your breath, Boom! Okay, at least it downloaded. All right, now let's try this. I'm going to get the keyboard out of the way. All right, let's say I want it red. What would I hit? 1, okay? 1. Boom! It's red. Oh, that is much too bright. Let me hit the down button and see what happens. See if you can perceive the change when I hit the down button. DN. Got the command. Boom. Did you see that? I saw it. Boom. Another one. DN. Did you see that? I'm dimming the light. One more. DN. See if you can perceive it. Did you see that? We are dimming the light. Okay, let's see if we can bring it back. See if you can perceive it coming up. So I'm going to hit up. Yes, I perceived it. Can you perceive it? I'll go up again. Boom, there it was. I'll go up again. Boom, there it was. Okay, now let's try this, okay? I'm going to go really, really dim, so I'm going to hit dim. Okay, yep, that dimmed, dim. Yep, that dimmed. Okay. Ooh, that dimmed again. I'm going to take the globe off, and let's see if we can get some focus on this. I hate this blasted aggravating thing that never wants to focus. Okay, so I'm going to go down again. Let's see, I'll give you a full view here. This is a pretty good view here, I think. All right, yeah. So you can see I'm going to go down again on red. Okay, it dimmed. Go again. It's even dimmer. Go again. Okay. In real life, it is really, really, really getting dim. Very, very dim. One more. Okay. One more. Okay, I keep saying one more. One more. Okay, so that is really, really, really dim. But now let's go to green. Now the trick is when I go to green, it needs to stay dim. So I'm going to go to 2. Dim green. Dim green. Okay, now let's go 3. All right. It didn't see it. Try it again. 3. Dim blue. Now let's see if I can brighten up the blue a little bit. Yeah, did you see that? Brighten it up. Boom. Now let's go cyan. Okay, I'm gonna tone down that cyan. I'm gonna go dim. Yep, it dimmed. Go again. Dim. Go again. Dim. Go again. Dim. Very dim cyan. Now we're gonna go to magenta with 5. Okay. Lovely magenta. Now we're gonna go yellow. Lovely yellow. I'm going to dim it. Dim the yellow. Dim it again. Okay, there it went. Dim it one more time. Sometimes it doesn't see that. Okay, very dim. Now I'm going to go back to 2, which is green. And now let's see if we can bring the brightness up. Up. Yep, I saw it. Yep. Boom. Do you guys see what we have done here? All right. This is one. I hope you guys will really leave comments. Did anybody do this assignment correctly without watching the video? Did anybody do the homework and get it right? Okay. At least did some of you try to do it and not able to figure it out? And then after watching me do it, are you able to understand it? The goal here was not to make an RGB LED controlled with a remote. The goal was for you to learn to do something by yourself. And I gave you a project where I deliberately put some roadblocks in your way to see if you could get to the bottom of it. Did you see how methodically we thought through this? I'm trying to think, what was the first problem? The first problem was kind of like figuring out how to deal with this dim, where you're not ever changing RGB values, red, green, and blue values for dimming. You're changing that factor, and therefore that same factor could be applied to all the different colors. If you were in there trying to monkey with the colors, then you have one variable that you're using to change colors and changing brightness, and that would be very hard to make work. Also, if you guys figured out a way to do this different than what I did, let me know. Okay, but I'd really like to hear feedback. Also, I hope you guys will start getting a sense of community. Start commenting on other people's comments. And so that's one of your homeworks today, your homework is leave a comment on this project and then also respond to someone else's comments. So look at their comments, respond to someone else's comments, and start getting to know people, because you guys that have made it this far, we got kind of a core group of people that are going through these lessons, and start getting to know each other, develop a little bit of a sense of community, okay? Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.